Hey, so today I'm going to tell everyone my personal favorite fairy tale, which is the story of Peter Pan. I hope you like it. Okay, once upon a time there were three siblings, and their names were Wendy, Michael, and John. And their favorite time of day was bedtime, which is kind of funny because unless you're an adult, if you're a kid, usually your favorite time of day isn't bedtime. But they loved bedtime, especially the two brothers, because their sister Wendy would always tell them stories. She would tell them bedtime stories every night. And one of her favorite bedtime stories to tell, and one of the brothers' favorite bedtime stories to hear, was the story of Peter Pan. And Peter Pan was a boy who decided he never wanted to grow up, and he lived all the way in a place called Neverland. Well, as it turns out, Peter Pan loved to hear stories about himself, so he would fly all the way from Neverland and he would sit in the nursery windowsill and he would listen to Wendy tell stories about him. One night when he was sitting there and he was listening to the stories, he asked Wendy if she would want to fly back to Neverland with him. She was delighted, and of course, she wanted to go to Neverland with him. So she asked him if her and her brothers could come, and he taught them to fly. He taught them that all it took was a little bit of pixie dust and a wish, and then also a little bit of practice. But after the practice and the fairy dust and the wish, the children learned how to fly and they flew with Peter all the way back to Neverland. Once they got to Neverland, they knew that they were going to love Neverland. There were fairies that lived in the trees. There were mermaids that lived in the lagoon. There were pirates that lived on a cliff. There not pirates. There were Indians that lived on a cliff. And there were wild animals that lived in the forest. But best of all were the pirates. And the pirates lived in ships all over the island. But the most evil pirate's name was Captain Hook. Now, after the kids and Peter had explored Neverland a little bit, he took them back to his house, which was a huge hollow tree. And also in the tree lived the Lost Boys, who lived with Peter. And they were so excited that Wendy was there too, because then Wendy could also tell them bedtime stories. And so they were so happy that she was there, but they didn't spend very much time in their home in the tree because there was so many things to do in Neverland. And one of the things that they really loved to do was spend time with the Indians. And they loved to play games with them until one day Captain Hook, he stole the chief's daughter away from their home, and her name was Tiger Lily. And they were all heartbroken that Tiger Lily was gone, and so Peter decided that he needed to go and save her. So he went on a big adventure and he fought Captain Hook and he saved Tiger Lily and he took her back to her home and they had a big party, but Captain Hook was more mad than he had ever been before at Peter Pan. He was so furious. He decided he had to get his revenge. He had to get his revenge on Peter Pan for the last time. So he went and he snuck to their tree, their home, and he stole the Lost Boys and Wendy and her two brothers, and he took them back to his pirate ship, and he decided that he was going to make them walk the plank. He was going to throw them overboard. And they were so terrified, but they kept hope that Peter would show up. And at the last minute, he did show up. He showed up, and he fought Captain Hook once and for all, and Peter saved all his friends. It was at this point, though, that Wendy decided her and her brothers probably needed to go home. So with the stolen pirate ship, they made all the other pirates jump overboard, and they got their pirate ship and they sprinkled it with pixie dust and made their wish, and they flew it all the way home to their nursery window. And the kids, they went back in through their window and they told their parents of their adventures, and their parents could not believe it. But the kids, they grew up, but they never forgot Peter Pan. and they lived happily ever after. The end.